Once again, I'm Joe Stevens of the Equestria Inquirer here on Everfree Radio on Everfree Northwest, and I am here with a very, very special guest, a wonderful guest, Mr. James Wootten. Thank you so much for being here.
It's a pleasure. Nice to be here. What up, bronies?
What up, bronies? Now, I believe... And all fans, Pegasisters, bronies. I think we all go by bronies now, but whatever moniker you prefer to go for, I think is acceptable. But James or Wootie, can we call you Wootie?
Oh, please do.
Because Wootie works on the show, is the director of the show. So just go on to, what is it you do on the show?
What don't I do? No, basically, I'm just kind of that central hub of, managing creativity. Making sure everyone's focused on doing the same, same vision, same show. Everyone's contributing and everyone's, it's clicking together well and coming out perfect in the end.
Now, I guess that's a fancy way of saying you're the director, I guess.
Sure.
So you organize all the different aspects of the show. Do you ever get to put your own personal touch on anything? Is there anything that was Wootie's idea? That was what Wootie did.
Oh, sure. Yeah, there was, it's hard to come up with the detailed specific moments, but one thing I take pride in is reaching out to the fans. After the derpy phenomenon happened, kind of accidentally in a really interesting way, I had to make sure that we were, pleasing the fans. So I dropped in that little derpy clip in Feeling Pinky Keen, when all the items were dropping on Twilight.
Right, Derpy the delivery, the derping derp of delivery.
Exactly, yeah, it was the big old derp.
So, do we have you to thank for Derpy being such a present part, at least in the background of Season 2?
Well, at that point, everyone was getting in on it. Once they saw that it was okay, even the directors dropping in things for the fans.
So Wootie said that all clear. You can throw derpy jokes in there.
Exactly. Keep it subtle. It's always, we don't want to go overboard with it and not too much fan service.
Right. And so you were there from, I guess, with the beginning of the derpy, the beginning of the show and everything. And so it seems like the show was really kind of, I guess, handed off to you from once it got established, once Lauren worked in there and got everything set up. So describe that process of you taking command of the show and making it such a wonderful thing that it is.
Sure, yeah. When Lauren came up and met with me and Jason, it was like 3 cartoon peas in a pod. We all had that exact same cartoon vision. It was dead easy to work on. We all shared that same vision. We know exactly what a cartoon should be and what characters should be, and strong archetypes, always remaining true and genuine to themselves. And then at that point, we were working on the Flash test to make sure that it could be done in Flash, and we wanted to see the range of things that could happen. So we did a Flash test and figured out how to wrangle that hair. There's a lot of tails. And
what was the first Flash test you did? What scene was it?
Oh, well, let's see. It didn't really apply to a specific episode. It was just like a simple little situation. We thought the show would be a lot more limited than how it turned out, really. At that point, we hadn't seen any scripts. We had only seen the Bible, which was so inspiring, right? But once we saw the Bible, I was like, yes, I want to work on that show.
Now, the Bible being the big book of all the character designs, the description of the characters and who they are. Right. Could you tell from even something the Bible, could you tell it was going to be something special?
Yeah, I'll take a couple steps back. When I was offered the director role, I was really excited. And my producer says to me, oh, and by the way, it's My Little Pony. So instantly I get these 2 little me's pop up on my shoulder. I've got the artist me and then like the big, burly heavy metal lumberjack me with a hairy chest. He said, My Little Pony? Oh, man. And then this other me was like, wait a minute, this is a cartoon that people have heard of. This could go places. This could be a chance to put my best foot forward.
And you can still be the cool guy to have the curly Q mustache working on My Little Pony. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. That is a fantastic mustache, sir.
Oh, thank you. A lot of wax, boys. Need a lot of wax.
And so you were given this Bible, you were given this encouragement. So you looked at it, you said, this is something that people know, that people recognize. And yes. you could take it to something special.
Right. Well, it wasn't at that point. It was that point when I saw the designs, when I said, yes, give me that show. I would love to do it. 'Cause it's so fit for Flash, technically speaking, and it's just so damn appealing looking, and graphic and simple and strong. And then I read the Bible and was still even more stoked. And at that point, we did the test. So once we pulled that off, and it was, fairly simple animation, but we got some good fluid, cartoony stuff. Because it's never about, Flash is just a tool, and it's not about the tool, it's about how you use it. So if someone has a really strong vision on how to make a strong cartoon, then, it doesn't matter what format they're doing it in, it's going to turn out really good. So getting back on track. Once I saw the script come in, it was like, whoa.
And that first script for the pilot, right?
Yes, it was the two-parter. Right. And I saw, whoa, this is a huge, epic, universe filled with like mythology and richness of character and of location. Everything was just gelling. It was like this amazing big thing, and I was, at that point, yes, I'm really gonna sink my teeth into this. I'm gonna go full-heartedly into this and pour everything I have. So it was like at that point, midnight oil was burning. I put in. I managed to, twist my company to put in more effort in the front end of the production, which is like the build department, which is what I go nuts for. In a weird way, I really can forecast how a character can be used efficiently to not hang up the animator and get them not thinking about, oh, this part is not moving very well, and it encourages them to make it cartoony, like get into this kind of 3D look, not be limited by like a sticker head or that kind of thing. So we got a lot of good pre-production happening, which makes the rest of the cartoon smooth sailing, to a degree.
Well, it certainly paid off. I mean, from the very beginning, I think that a lot of people just the reason that people get hooked on the show is not so much they hear about it and they think, oh, I'm going to like that show. It's they watch it. They watch the show and you can't resist it. I mean, it certainly pays off. So when working through the show, has there been an evolution of when you get more comfortable in the characters? Have you been able to explore more and work with it? How has the show evolved just from a production standpoint?
Well, what can I say about that?
Well, I guess let me be a little more specific. You mentioned that when the fans really embraced Derpy, you threw her into the season 1, so very quickly, I think. How has the Brony reaction to the show affected the way that the production crew looks at the show, or has it really? I think that a lot of people say, yeah. So go ahead.
It's basically like a fueling. It's like we pick up on like, wow, it's first off, there's people watching the show, like it's successful, and that alone is like fueling. And then when we actually hear from them and we see, the internet hasn't been around too long, so a lot of like cartoon makers haven't, had the feedback directly from the audience, which I think is a really important thing for an artist because it fuels the batteries. It makes you want to pay more attention to those little scenes you're working on because someone's going to be paying attention. Right,
because they're paying attention. When Derpy Hooves was present in that moving scene, people really paid attention. They really cared about that.
It's inspiring. It makes me want to make a better cartoon.
And so now that you're here, this is your first convention, right?
Yes, it is.
And what has your reaction been to seeing all the bronies who absolutely love your work?
Really cool, man. Really cool. It's, like I said, it's inspiring, and just to see the passion that we're putting in on the front end is also being received with an equal amount of passion. And I think that's a really cool exchange. And what's interesting is that I actually have some fans who are fans of the show. Like I'm sorry, did I say that right? No, I am fans of fans.
Right.
They produce these videos and things that we see all the time, and that kind of thing is charging our batteries too. It's really cool to see these people and meet them firsthand.
So you actually the people on the show go to Equestria Daily or go to Everfree Radio and see the fan submissions, and you actually are seeing that. What is your reaction when you see some of these animations are really, really good? And
talented guys. It started out as seeing just like talented editors, pulling off these trailers and things, picking the highlights basically. That's something that we aren't very familiar with we didn't get the privilege of having on previous cartoons we've worked on. A lot of times an editor will have to be paid to sit down and like go through a stack of footage and like pick it out, but when the fans are doing it for us, it's an extra treat to see it come back to us so quickly, and it's like, wow, it reminds us of, holy crap, we are working on a rad cartoon, you know? Sometimes we get blinders in production and we're just kind of dealing with the one thing we're dealing with, and we don't get a chance to back out and see the impact that's happening, and just to see our show in a bigger light. It's really refreshing to have that mirror, you know?
Well, we're so grateful for all the hard work you put in on it, and I think that one of the things we're interested in is the actual production process and seeing how this is all made. Has there been any particular challenges in making a show? Because you could think that it would be a show that initially everyone writes it off. Oh, it's just a show for girls. But what is the challenge that you've faced making it a really, really good show? What is the biggest hurdle you've had to overcome for that?
Well, we kind of reorganized how we approach the workflow. We had a pipeline of where we put our strengths in our artists along the way. We were saving a lot of, at first we were saving a lot of our more talented guys in the animation department. And then we realized that, wait a minute, if we put those talented guys a little bit earlier on in the production, and we created this, we kind of redefined a department called layout, where it's basically like a comic book where we make the storyboard sing. We make it all pretty and nicely composed, and all the acting's there. It's like key animation, basically. So we basically do all the keys really strong and really appealingly. And Jason and we get in there and approve every scene and every bit of acting before it goes to animation. And at that point, it's guaranteed to be really appealing and strong.
So that makes the production and everything a lot easier when you're doing all that sort of thing.
That's right. And, we found with previous shows we were working on that we were having to get a lot more revisionists. After the animation is complete, the directors will go over it and get more, do their fixes. But we realized that most of our calls were like layout calls rather than animation calls. So it seemed to just be a lot more logical to put more strength in the earlier stages.
One of the things about the show that I think a lot of the fans love, and we were just had the opportunity to see you with Mike the Mic, or with Acoustic Brony and Manda Pony and everything, is the music, the inspirational music, Danny Ingram and all those things. Yeah. Is that a challenge? Is it fun? Because in your past work, you hadn't done musical elements. What's it like animating a very musical-oriented episode versus a very not-musical-oriented episode?
That poses some challenges in storyboard. You're going to be more careful with your timing, with posing and staging, and just fitting things to a song was cool. We basically, for our storyboards, we made an animatic, like the storyboard artist would make an animatic work with the song, and we could just play that back and give instant feedback to these just rough drawings to the song. Normally, the storyboard artist will, when there's no song, we'll just go straight ahead and not do an animatic. So, and it's been really inspiring. Like, the songs are actually good, Like, a lot of times in the old cartoons we work on, it's just kind of like, okay, yeah, there's a cute little song here, let's throw that in there, and it works, it's functioning. But Daniel elevated the game. I think that it's a testament to, Lauren and the Bible Pack. When you first come into this show, that this one is something special. It's got, it can go places. So I think Daniel saw that too, and he brought it. It was like he brought all that he could bring and made it very, very appealing and catchy. So that was extra inspiring for all the artists who were working on it.
Right, and everybody loves the musical elements of the show. People sing it. Had it been where you were wanting to see the reaction of the music in the show before you added more? Because it seems like we're seeing more and more music in the show. Obviously, we love it. Was it always an intention to make music a part of it, or had you, once you saw the fans react positively, that you felt more free to include more?
I think that was a decision made early on, that there would be songs, like Lauren talking with the Hub and Hasbro and figuring out what kind of show it's going to be. It was an earlier on kind of decision. As we went along, we thought that there was an average amount of songs consistently, and then at the end of season 1, there was a call to make sure that there's more songs in there. So Daniel got more busy, and it worked out really well.
Well, it's fascinating to me. You seem to be like the first person who works on the show who's absolutely not surprised at all that the show is A, a huge success, and B, appealing to a wide range of audiences. I mean, that's just fascinating to me. That I mean, everyone, and so you were able to see that. So reaction to Bronies is, I guess, it's been good for you then.
Oh, it's so rewarding. It's such a nice thing to witness that, you know, the fans are, yeah, they're out there. They're real. There's faces to these people. And on other cartoons, like I said, we just haven't had that feedback. We've been on this island up in Canada, you know, and down there in the States where it all airs. And it doesn't really air much in Canada. You know, we tell our family and friends, and nobody's really heard of that. So
we need to get the hub in Vancouver then, I guess.
yeah, that's good. Yeah, that'd work. I think that they just started a Canadian hub.
Well, there you go. That helps. So check your local listings, I guess. So we've got to wrap up a little bit before we go. I've gotten in trouble lately for, I guess, I don't know if I've gotten in trouble, but it seems like people are liking it. Half the people we've talked to today moved from one particular cartoon to MLP, and that was Ed, Edd, and Eddy. And what I am personally, yeah, thank you. Tell us the process of Ed and Eddy to MLP and the transition, and what it was like working on that show versus what it's like working on this show.
Okay, sure. That show was a real treat for a storyboard artist to work on because as it started out, it was a outline-based show rather than a script. So it was one of the mottos of Danny Antonucci was cartoons should be made by cartoonists.
Was that an impersonation of Danny?
Oh, I didn't get the eyebrow high enough. It's not what they do, it's how they do it. That kind of thing. And we learned a lot of good foundational principles of cartooning from Danny and also from the team that was forged there. It was such a strong unit we had of helping each other out and you know, putting up all our work on the wall and going through it and critiquing it and pushing each other to be better artists for ourselves. Like, we were the biggest fans of the show. You know, and I think that that's a really important part of making cartoons is that you have to be really in love with what you're doing. And
so are you a big fan of MLP now?
I think maybe I was the first Brony.
Oh, the first Brony. Yes, Brohook from the first Brony. So thank you so much, Wootie, for joining us. This has been a fantastic interview. It's so wonderful to finally talk to you and get face into the fans. Is there anything you'd like to say to the fans out there watching?
Thanks so much, fans, for enjoying the show and giving this that fuel. Keep it coming, and we'll keep providing it for you. It's a two-way street, so keep it going.
So there you have it from the first Brony, the official first Brony. I think we can call it the official first Brony. Jane's Wootie Wootten. Once again, I'm Joe Stevens with the Equestria Inquirer, Everfree Radio, here from Everfree Northwest. Thank you very much. Stay tuned.
All right, once again reporting from Everfree Northwest for the Equestria Inquirer and Everfree Radio, I am Tech Rat, and right now we have some amazing guests with us today. Not only do we have three of the most amazing people who were at Pony Stock last night, but they're actually bothering to get close enough to me for an interview, which surprises me greatly. Ladies and gentlemen, we have here Mr. Mando Pony. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, man. What's up? How you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing just fine. And over here on my left-hand side, we have the marvelous and stupendous Acoustic Brony. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you very much. Tired.
You know, I was just gonna. Pretty much what I can You know, I was just gonna say because you know we tried to get you guys a little bit earlier in the day, and you guys said you were just entirely wiped from Pony Stock, and I can totally understand why. I mean, you just did an amazing set. Have you guys ever done that kind of set live before?
No, not really. About 2 years ago, I had a rock band in New Hampshire called Red Sky by Night, but we only did like 4 shows, and they were all pretty small. But that's the only real experience I've had, like fronting a band or anything like that. So this was completely new territory. But at the same time, because I had Jimmy and Ed there, and because we had had a chance to work it out before, and I just felt so comfortable with them. They're like my brothers now. You know, it just having it there. Having such a great, you know, crowd and everybody being so supportive, it made it just so easy. You know, it was just go up there and you're just, you know, you're with friends. And it was the first time, but it also felt very, I don't know, it just felt right. It was really good being there with you guys.
Wow. And was it a similar situation for you guys? Had you ever done something of this scale before in a live performance?
Well, we have played a few shows in front of a few, big crowds, but this is possibly the biggest
I'd say
crowd
this
we've
is
ever done.
Like a step up from what we've done. The most I've done was a gig in London at the the Camden Underworld one, when I used to do chiptune music before Acoustic Brony and the whole community. But that I wouldn't even say that was anywhere near this. This is just a whole step up, as I said. Like, it's just phenomenal how we've got to what we are now.
Yeah, plus it's being live streamed by
which
it's
is
just so many
it's
people
not just
around the world.
crowd in front of you. It's also the people that are watching at home, and it's crazy.
And thank you guys for tuning in and watching that. Because and thank you to my mom and dad they were like in the central time zone, I think it was.
They stayed up like 2 in the morning.
They stayed up till 2 in the morning watching it, and they texted me like right after. It must have been like 3 or 4 in the morning. You were like, "It was epic, so proud of you." It was just so cool. I've got the best parents in the world.
That is awesome. I so wish I had 4 microphones right now because this is very, very difficult. But but the other thing I heard about this, you're talking about, you were prepared for this. You really, really put a lot of time into this. I heard this was the first time that you guys worked in person together on a set. I mean, you guys have been communicating probably online and on the phone and everything. What was it like? Like, walk me through when you guys first met in person. What was that experience?
Literally, as soon as we were waiting downstairs at the hotel, waiting for Andy to arrive, which was delayed countless times. I think we were down there for about an hour and a half, waiting for him.
Yeah.
It was a bit tedious. But when he arrived, it was just all hugs and guy love, and it was amazing. It was just a phenomenal moment, and it was amazing. It was long overdue, I would say. This has been waiting to happen for ages. And
Well, how long have you guys been working together before this?
how long ago was I'll Fly Higher? That was about. I think it was about 6 months. Sorry, this is
what I'm talking about. Yeah, I will make. You know what? You guys are gonna have to raise your hand when you want to speak. You're back in grammar school. You raise your hands, and I'll call on you. Okay? We'll start with you.
Loyalty was about 6 months ago, so I would say we first started talking when you released Long Way, which was roughly about 7 or 8.
It was a while ago. I can check on here probably. If I can. I don't want to take up too much time or anything, but it was like 8 or it was like
your phone in the interview.
Yeah.
We don't mind.
No. Okay, I'm just gonna take. It was like
back here, man.
it was like 8 months ago or so. Yeah. So I mean, it's been a long time, and we've been like talking on Skype like constantly because we're brothers, and it's a lot of fun. Oh, the wubs. But it was just really great to finally get a chance to, like, I met Ed downstairs. We had a huge hug, and the guy that we were talking to down there was a lovely guy, and it's just been a really great experience the entire time. And then as soon as I was like walking through the hallway, this guy popped out, and he was like, "Ah!" And I was like, "Dude, you dyed your hair!" And it was like, "Yeah," and it was like awesome. I was like, "Cause check it out his hair. It's awesome. It's the same color."
It's not normally this color. That's what you're saying.
No, I had never seen that color before. But talk about it there.
Why did you do this then?
I dyed it the same color as our OC.
Oh, okay. Okay, wow.
Red and purple, but the purples have kind of come out a bit.
It's a bit crazy.
I thought you were doing like the Twilight Sparkle do for a minute there because the colors are very similar.
Yeah. Some people did say that. Yeah, they were like, "Oh my God, Twilight Sparkle colors." Yeah.
All right, so you.
It would make sense.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, with the Twilight Licious, right. So you guys got together in person for the first time, and you're doing this, and then somebody else joins the mix, and that somebody else would happen to be a wonderful little lady named Michelle Krieber. And I want to take a step back and talk about your experience leading up to that point. But first, since we're on the subject, what was that like when you got to collaborate with her here on this set?
Well, it was really great because I've had the honor of working on her album with her for a while, which is available now. And we've had a chance to do a lot of rehearsals together, do a lot of songs. Her father, Michael. It's all M's. It's Monique, Michelle, Michael.
That's too many M's. That's like the family.
And the dogs are Max and Marley. So it's just M.
It's like they just named everybody just to mess with you.
Yeah, absolutely. But Michael Krieber, who played piano there, is an amazing session pianist. He's like extremely well known. Oh, he's amazing. Yeah. So I've had the chance to play with him, and then Monique sing along with her and everything, and of course having Natalie Sharp on stage there too, Colleen Murphy. And then having Maddie Peters come up Robin do Bee Gees as well was fantastic, and then Claire at the end too. Everything building up to it has been awesome, especially as a learning experience because they're so professional. But actually doing the full-on performance was just an absolute blast. I think that Michelle just killed it. She nailed it. It was awesome.
She was, especially the hat. I mean, the hat just made.
Good. Yeah,
I know,
you know?
she had the Michael Jackson vibe going on. It was amazing.
She can do like the toe thing and everything. She's got
know.
moves, dude.
Yeah, and I imagine the experience for you had to be very similar, like when you saw her walk into the room. Because you have been working with her for a while already. This was probably your first time meeting her in person. Am I correct?
Yes.
And so what was that like for you guys?
Spectacular.
It was a bit crazy, like having someone that we've looked up to in the show, like that we watch on a daily basis, just being able to work with them, and especially in person, because just having a talk with them over Skype and everything is one thing, but being able to be with them and perform on stage and just go for it, it's just a completely unbelievable experience. I'd just say enjoyed every second. It was amazing.
Wow. Well, I mean, getting to that point must have been. I mean, for me, it would probably be a dream come true. Yeah. You know, but you know, starting all the way back, like when you guys first got started, not even with My Little Pony, but just getting into music in general. Obviously, you had no idea it was going to lead to this. But what were your guys' beginnings? Like when did you decide to pick up a mandolin and just go to town? Like what got you interested in getting into music?
Well, my dad was a jazz vocalist, and so music has always sort of been in the house. He doesn't do it professionally, but he used to sing a long time ago, and he really helped instill that love of music inside of me. And I started just playing around on piano and keyboards and like harmonica was like my first two instruments. I started finding these melodies and stuff, and like being able to pick it up when I was like 4 or 5 years old.
Wow. I was not expecting to go that far back.
Yeah, so like that was whenever I started doing it, and my sister was my first guitar teacher. Shut up, phone. My sister was my first guitar teacher whenever I was like 11, 12 years old, and she was 16. I got this really great keyboard for Christmas, and she got a classical guitar, and I was playing both of it, and I started really getting into rock, and she would teach me a lot of that. And then whenever I was like 13 or 14, I found this amazing band called Nickel Creek. If you don't know who they are, check them out. The mandolinist for that band, Chris Thiele, was the most profound inspiration in my life. He's a genius musician. He was only like in his early 20s whenever that came out, and he was really the reason why I picked up the mandolin and really got very serious into music. And so yeah, and it's just ever since then, whenever I was about 13, 14, I started recording. My parents got me like, Cakewalk Music Creator 2003. It was like this $30 program, and
everyone has to start somewhere, right? I mean,
yeah, and I haven't really progressed much beyond that initial setup. I like duct tape all the stuff together, just do whatever I can, and it's crazy how many musicians do work that way, especially in this fandom.
Everyone thinks you're like in this really professional studio. And you're like on a headset mic in your basement or something.
Yeah, literally. Whenever the Creepers approached me about wow, it's like 3 texts. Whenever the Creepers
You're a popular guy.
apparently, when they approached me about doing these tracks for her album, they said, do you want to start with like, we want to do Wanted Dead or Alive, and we want to do Boy from New York City, and I was like, I'll do it. And so with my $400 Toshiba laptop that I got at Staples or something, and like it was like $150 USB Yamaha Audiogram 6 preamp, and then Cubase 6 for only $100, like I did it. And with VSTs and software that I got out there. But it's like, if you've got the will, if you want to make music, you absolutely can, even with, small equipment and a small budget. So, don't ever let anything stop you. If you've got music inside you, just get it out. It doesn't matter what equipment you use, just get it out there, because that's what it's about,
And what about you guys? Can you beat Mando's story? Did you get into music like right out of the womb, or what's your guys' background? How did you guys get started with this?
Okay, well, it probably won't be that long, but but no, I started music at quite a young age. My mum bought me like a little tiny keyboard. It was like that big, and I was just kind of messing around with it, playing along with tunes that I heard on the TV.
Star Wars
was one.
I think we all did that with our little Casio keyboards. Standing in front. Don't
sue us, John Williams. Sorry.
I think that's a standard for every 7-year-old. They gotta play that on the keyboard.
Yeah. Anyways, something that. No, something that really influenced me was the Saturday morning cartoons, and I really the openings and the music for the openings. One that really stuck with me was the Pokemon theme song.
Yeah.
And after hearing the full version and that guitar solo, I was like, I'm gonna have to get into a guitar. I'm gonna have to start playing guitar now, aren't I? So at the age of 10, I picked up a bass guitar because there were some people in my school who needed a bass guitarist. So I was like, okay, I'll pick that up. And as that kind of progressed, I figured, well, bassists don't really seem to get that much attention, do they, compared to the guitarist and the drummer, say. And so, yeah, 2 years later, when I was 12, I picked up an electric guitar. My uncle bought me a cheap one. And I self-taught for 8 years. I haven't had a teacher. And, yeah, and it's just kind of this road I've been on. I've just been writing my own little tunes. What started off kind of really depressing songs, I'm not gonna lie, because I was, a rough childhood.
So wait, you started with Pokemon, but then you went like sad.
It's completely downhill from there.
Yeah. Okay, I'll keep going. I don't get it, but keep going.
No, well, it's just when I moved into my new school, there was a ton of stuff going on, and it was just kind of stressful. But I've gradually been working my way up and up, and now I'm 20 years old, and it's just been, and Acoustic Brownie was, a year ago? Almost over a year ago?
Acoustic Brownie was about, just over a year, about a year and 2 months or something like that.
Yeah, cool.
So it's been a while, but...
So yeah, and when we were getting into the community, I noticed some people starting to make remixes and covers and their own little songs inspired by the show. A few notable ones being Rainbow Crash 88, Odyssey, and because those were two of the very first guys who were really out there in terms of pony music.
Oh no, definitely.
And me and Ed were thinking, well, no one's doing rock yet, so how about we get together?
Because back then
and
it
do
was,
rock
it
covers.
was predominantly like electro.
It was very electro stuff, and then I was like, okay, so no one's doing rock covers yet, so why don't we go ahead and do that? And it sounded awful.
Well,
they
to be fair, we didn't have any equipment.
No,
it was all recorded on a phone.
Yeah, we didn't have any equipment. Everything was just through a phone onto the laptop, throwing a drum track, throwing a bass track, and that was about it.
But then again, even now we're in the same sort of position. Like all our software is free. We're just using GarageBand, which comes free with the Mac. So we haven't really gone that far up. We the most we've spent is probably on a Tascam system interface, so we can plug straight in. But apart from that, it's just, as Andy likes the term, bog standard.
Bog standard.
It's basically just a really simple setup that we can just work with. It doesn't need to be anything fancy. Like back to what Andy was saying about just if you've got the drive for it, just get something simple and go for it. There's no point spending a lot of money when you can do the exact same thing with just as much effort and passion with something simple. As long as you've got the ambition, go for it.
I think that's great. I think that's very inspiring for anybody out there who wants to start to pick up this kind of this kind of thing, to get into the music scene. Just knowing that there is no barrier to entry. As long as you're creative and as long as, like you said, you have the passion to do it, you can actually sit down and write the song and record it and get it out there. And I think it's just wonderful that we live in a world right now where we have the technology that makes that possible.
I completely agree. The very first step that I did was these chip tunes based off of themes, for the characters, and I started doing that. I think it was I had probably heard Rainbow Crash, and it gave me the idea to what if there was one for each of these characters in a video game sort of thing, and that was before I even had the $400 laptop. I had just a $100 little netbook, and so I just had those little VSTs and started making that, and then it got on EQD and just 9 months ago, and then. Here we are.
And actually, you just mentioned video games, and I did notice that it does seem to be especially in a lot of your other videos, even your non-music videos, there's a video game theme going on.
Yeah.
Is that one of your inspirations when you sit down to write music, like video game songs and tunes and such?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, the music from games like Final Fantasy were hugely, Koji Kondo's work and Legend of Zelda and Star Fox, all those games. The Kirby music was always a really big influence on me. Really happy electro stuff like that. Video games, I remember playing video games and getting so emotionally attached to what was going on. And the sound of it, I was a kid and I didn't really notice that, these are synthesized sounds. I just knew that was the sound that was playing. But it was brilliantly composed music just on different instruments. And so I fell in love with that, and I had an emotional connection with the music tied in with the game. And it was a very big inspiration. Film scores and video game scores as well. It pushed me to think of thematic ideas to put into it. So like I really try to incorporate some sort of a strong melody or hook. Sometimes it gets repetitive in my music, I know, but I try and have something there that's identifiable and that fits with the character that it's representing. Whether it's like the classical theme for Rarity or a country sort of thing for Applejack. So yeah, I think that Rainbow Crash does it best. I'm just gonna go on record and say RC88, dude, you're one of the reasons why I'm here. And Peaky Pie Swear with Sunshine Celery Stalks. Yeah. It was like, oh, dude, I heard that song and it just blew my mind.
Yeah, that is fantastic. And the same question to you guys, like, what sort of things inspire you? Like what sort of music or what kind of tracks do you listen to?
I'm gonna have to agree with Andy on the video game music. Again, Legend of Zelda was one of the biggest inspirations of in terms of music. Ocarina of Time was the very first Zelda game I ever played, and oh my gosh, the soundtrack is mind-blowing. Very, very, well orchestrated. Yeah, no. Definitely. I'd also say, again, going back to the last thing, the last topic. Saturday morning intro cartoon intros is what is something that really inspired me because they were just so catchy,
Oh yes, yes,
yeah.
That's been a while.
All right. Oh, we have to get a little bit closer together. Okay. All right. Wow.
I'm okay with that.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. All right. Group hug right here now, guys.
Yes.
All right. So okay, so shifting gears a little bit here, because we talked about your inspiration, we talked about where you started. What I want to know right now is getting back to talking about your involvement with Michelle Creeper and what you've been working on. How exactly did that come about? How did you first get in contact with them, and then how did that relationship evolve to where it is now?
It was really cool. I had started working with Everfree Radio not long. It was just like, I think that the last interview that they had done was with Michelle Creeper. And they had been in touch with Monique, her mother, for a while. And they had mentioned that they really loved the song Long Way from Equestria. Just on their own. They Michelle posted it on her Facebook page and stuff. And it was after that they approached Final Draft and said, do you think that Mando would be interested in helping out with our album or something?
So they approached Draft about it?
Yeah, they approached Draft to see if they could get in touch with me, and Draft was like, Andy, guess what?
You do a good draft, by the way.
Oh no, I don't. We don't say such things. I love you, Draft. I love you, bro.
That is dead on.
So
one job.
what?
One job, Andy.
One job.
Yeah. So anyway, he approached me about it, and I was like, yes, of course. So we exchanged phone numbers, and we started talking over Skype and everything. Met Michelle, met Monique and Michael, and told me about the project that they were doing, and also about Speedy and Stretch, the online variety show that they've got going. Yeah, and that's with Natalie Sharp as well, who is sister of Alex Sharp, who directed the Spies in the Night video and did a lot of filming for Speedy and Stretch as well. Subscribe to Michelle Creeper at YouTube to check out more. And or she'll beat me up and torture me. Just boom.
We were trying to get one of those, by the way, and we were not able to acquire one. So just so you know, you got lucky today, by the way.
Yes, thank you.
Wow. So all right. So like you were saying,
A look of fear on his face.
snap out of it.
Yeah, I'm okay.
You're okay. You're okay. It's not here. We don't have one here. I promise you that. So.
The best part was hearing him scream during the auction. During the auction when it was up for auction. Just
Wait. The thing he was up for.
Yeah, it was put up for auction.
Mando had signed it and put it up for auction in the charity auction.
Oh my God! Tell us about that. Tell us about that. Man.
Okay. So it was Michelle Creeper's brilliant idea to grab one of these torture devices, put her name on it as a badge of honor, I guess, in some twisted way, and they got me to sign it too. I don't know if it's in some contract or something that I signed, and then exactly, and then it started. The bidding got up to about $30, and then Michelle took. I think it was her that said that it was you also get to torture him with it for a couple seconds. That's also part of the what you win, and so then it went up to $60 or something, and so yeah, they won and they got it, and they got to come up and scratch my head, and it wasn't fun. I'm sure it'll be all over the internets. So yeah, but it was fun.
The internet.
The internet.
The internet's-
And actually, I heard that you actually did some auctioneering at the auction yourself as well, which is kind of a different experience for you.
You should have a change of career. I think you could do that.
Just completely drop the music entirely and be an auctioneer.
Drop music.
How fast can you flap?
It started. It was like, okay, we got 15. We got 15 with the women in the glasses. Okay, we got 15. We got 20 over here. We got 20. Okay, we got 20. We have 20. I do here 25. Okay, we got 25 over here. We got 20. Okay, 26 with the one. But it was something like that. But I actually did it okay, and my throat's gone now. I just wish Mike, the microphone, had been doing it though, because he would have killed it, man.
You would just spat that out like nobody's business.
Yeah, and in fact, dude. Okay, Mike, the microphone. I challenge you to do a song where you're an auctioneer.
Whoa!
I am officially calling it out, man. I want to hear it so bad.
Mike, you heard that. You can't turn that down.
No.
You can't turn down a challenge from Mando. You can't do it.
I love you, bro.
Oh my God. Okay. So let's just talk. Let's talk about the convention, just in general for a second, because and correct me if I'm wrong here, but this is your first My Little Pony convention.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's first for you guys as well, right?
Yeah.
All right. So I mean, we ask this question to everybody we interview, but what was your experience like meeting the fans for the first time and interacting with the fans? Why are you laughing?
It's been overwhelming. It's been amazing. Thank you guys so much for the support. I had no idea that we would get it, but it's just like been constantly people, bro hoofs and signatures and photographs. It's very overwhelming.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely unbelievable. We never thought we'd get any of this when we came here.
No, never in my life have I ever thought that, as I'm casually just walking down the hallway, people come up to me, can I have your autograph, please?
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, okay, sure, yeah,
Stopping us
all
with
right.
Pictures, hugs, bro fist, everything.
And especially just because we're just fans of the show like that, and we just happen to make it. It's like it's the people who make the show that I really look up to and love so much. So it's like thank you for kind of including us in the same group, but. Still, I don't know. It's just been amazing.
Has there been any like specific experience during the convention that kind of sticks out for you? An interaction with a fan or anything like that?
Yeah, the very first day that we were here, just after rehearsal, there was this really sweet girl that came up, and she was like, "Guys, I really like you guys so much," and it was just so awesome.
Yeah, she couldn't even look at us. She was so awkward. Oh, it was adorable.
And then when she asked for a hug and everything, she was like, "Can I have a hug?" It was brilliant. Like,
Wow, that is fantastic. Well, listen, guys, this has been a total trip. Thank you guys so much for coming out here and talking to us today. We appreciate it, guys, again. Mando Pony and Acoustic Brony joining us here today. It's been a wonderful experience. Once again, at Everfree Northwest for the Equestria Inquirer and Everfree Radio, I'm Tech Rat. Keep watching the live stream. We'll have more awesome coverage for you very soon. Take care, guys.
You're heavier than you look. Hello, once again. This is Joe Stevens
Along with Tech Rat.
of the Equestria Inquirer with Everfree Radio, and we are here with Big Jim Miller.
Hello.
And Big Jim Miller, of course, he works on the MLP. He works in the production crew. Go ahead and tell. I'm pretty sure most people know who you are and what you do, but go ahead and let people know what you do on the show.
I'm the board supervisor on the show, and I'm basically the department head for the storyboard crew.
And the storyboard crew. So what your job is now? We spoke with Sibsy and Raven yesterday.
They work for me.
And they do a terrific job.
Oh, yeah. Everyone on the crew. I'm blessed with a fantastic crew. It makes my life very, very easy.
So you have the other people. They do all the work, and you say yes.
Well, I say, yeah, we'll show it to the directors, and then they say yes.
Ah, okay. So walk us through, I guess, the production process.
Okay.
You get a script.
We get a script.
And then you make the story out of the script, the visual story.
Right. We're basically the first visual step in the process. So we get a script, which is just text, pages of text, and so the storyboard crew, it's usually about 2 board artists per episode. They split it in half, and they will break down the story into all the individual scenes and all the acting and action that goes into any given episode. And then those are presented to me and the directors. We make changes, and then we make it look all super spiffy, and then it goes on to the layout team and the animation team, and what happens to it after that I'm not involved with. So.
Did you have yeah? Go ahead. We're going back and forth. We were missing a microphone, so one of our microphones. It makes it a little awkward. So, do you get anything beyond the script? Do you get the vocals as well?
Oh, absolutely. We get a vocal track. The voices are recorded before we get the script usually, and so we try to listen to the track when we're drawing out the scenes to match the acting with how the voices sound. We also get the design pack with all the locations and everything that are designed, and any new characters that might be appearing, so we know how to treat them. But a lot of that stuff we sort of work out with the director too, in terms of acting. If it's a new character, how they want them to act with the new character, and how that character, like someone like Iron Will in season 2 was a new guy, and we sort of wanted to make him very much like a professional wrestler, kind of over the top guy. So there was a lot of discussion about posing and that sort of stuff, and make it very much like Hulk Hogan and all that.
So that character had been designed, basically.
Designed, yeah.
So you had just basically a photo of him.
Well, the directors had an idea of what they wanted him to be like from the script. And then there was the design with the Minotaur with the tie, so we knew that. And then with the combination of the voice, which had already been recorded, they knew they wanted a wrestler-y type guy. We just sort of tried to increase all of those elements in the storytelling, so with the shot selection and the acting. And Emmett Hall and Joel Dickey, who boarded that episode, did a fantastic job with that, really made it work.
They're doing the poses. I think that's what really made that character. Not so much the voice, well, the voice, the visual, but the
Yeah, the writing, the acting, the boarding for that whole thing just made that so funny for us.
And now, when you actually go through the storyboard process, like when you sit down to actually sketch out each particular panel in the storyboard, do you collaborate on that and do that together at once, or do you like assign scenes to different artists and they go off and they do their scenes and bring it back? How exactly does that work?
Well, it's like I said, the board gets split between 2 artists, and basically we'll have a meeting initially when we get the script and everyone's read it, with the board artists and the directors and myself, when we talk about the ideas we want and the things we want to see in the show, maybe work on some jokes, and then everyone splits up and the board artists go and do thumbnails, which are little crappy drawings of just the show to plot it out. And the reason they do them crappy is just to get their ideas down fast, and that way if we don't like stuff or we want to change things, they haven't spent a ton of time making things look beautiful that can be easily trashed and something else put in its place. And then after about 2 weeks of them doing that, we meet all again together and go through it all from beginning to end, and just look at it as a show and make more changes and tweak things around and move stuff and say, like, this sequence is working, I maybe want to change some poses here, or this is kind of clunky, how can we fix it? And then after that, they have 3 or 4 weeks to polish it all up and put in any extra poses we need, and make it look super pretty for the layout team. So there's a lot of the board artists on their own, but I'm there to help them with if they get stuck on shot selection or jokes, or help come up with ideas if they get hampered by anything, or just problem solve. And we have about 6 or 8 board teams running at any time, so every week I'm having a new board meeting, so they're dealing with one individual episode, but I'm dealing with them all. So.
And it actually brings up another question too, because you have a pool of artists that you can pull from when you decide who's going to work on what episode. How do you make that decision? Like, how do you know that this artist is going to do this episode, or perhaps this scene? Because it seems like maybe some artists could specialize in different types of sequences. Like when we talked to Sibsy yesterday, she happened to mention that she didn't feel like she was like maybe action scenes were not her strong suit, even though she did some wonderful action scenes. I was going to clarify that.
She does sell herself short a lot, absolutely. Yeah. Everyone on there has, they're really good at what they do, and they are all capable of doing whatever is assigned to them. Right. We would love to have the luxury of being able to assign specific shows to specific people, but due to the nature of a production of this kind, usually what happens is the next board team that needs a board gets assigned the next script that's available. So the scripts are usually right on the heels of the board starting, them being approved. Sometimes not, but so we don't have ability to say like, this one maybe would be more suited to someone else. We would love to be able to do that, but the scripts would have to be done so much further in advance, and it's just not cost effective. So that's why that doesn't happen. But again, the main thing is just surround yourself with really talented people, and you'll be fine.
And so, I guess you've been at the show from the beginning.
Yes. Well, I came in about halfway through the first season. There was no storyboard supervisor in the first season, and I came in and I actually started as a board artist, filling in for someone who had left. And I did episode 23, the Cutie Mark Chronicles, with another guy, Francisco, and I stayed on to help with revisions, and then because of my experience doing boards before, they bumped me up to supervisor for season 2.
Okay, well then I guess that since we're in the later in the season 1, I guess, has there been an evolution in how it's boarded and how you guys approach the show going on to the new seasons?
I think just the idea of having a board supervisor to sort of keep continuity and keeping things focused and being more aware of the overall storytelling, keeping that kind of thing consistent was the biggest change. And it did take a big burden off of the directors who were having to spend maybe a little bit more time going over those things. So it was just, that's probably the biggest change. Again, in terms of the quality of the boards, they were always quite high. The majority of the people who boarded on the second season or people who boarded on the first season. And the other thing we did try and do in the second season was we brought in some new people who were maybe not as experienced doing boards and paired them with more experienced people to try and train them up. And that ended up working out very well, and some of those people have now gone on to be full-time board artists in their own right. And I think that's a great benefit of and a testament to the Pony production that they were willing to take a chance on some new people and try them out, and it's really paid off for them.
Right, and I love the visual style and the visual puns and the acting and story that comes across with the visuals. And what sort of freedom do you have with, I know the script is pretty rigid and the lines are pretty rigid, but there are some visual gags that you're able to create and develop. Can you describe a few that really stood out and that you were particularly proud of?
Well, for myself personally, Wootie and I came up with the Pinkamena thing when she gets sad, her hair going straight. That was something we...
Hair deflating.
Because it was just the idea of it poofing up seemed like a funny thing, like when she got happy again. When we were reading the script for episode 23, there was a moment when she first smiles, and I thought visually it would be a lot more interesting to see her hair go into that style that we're all used to seeing. It would be neat. And then that became something that Wootie liked, and he put it into subsequent episodes like Party of One.
So you're basically the creator of Pinkamena.
Well, the writer came up with the concept. I just added to it. And another one was in the Halloween episode. I'm sorry, I don't always remember the title.
It's okay. It's the Halloween episode.
Eclipse.
Everyone,
It's
yeah.
in there somewhere. It just takes a little while to access it. There was a scene where we wanted to throw Derpy in, and she didn't have a costume. So I'm just like, she's weird. Put paper bags on her. And I thought that was funny to me. So that was something I added in a revision, and it seems to have connected with people. I've seen people wearing shirts with it on, and that's kind of cool. So.
Yeah. No, I was just actually say that now. It seems like everybody wants to cosplay as that Nightmare Night costume now that you came up with that.
It's super cheap, right? You just go to the grocery store, get a couple paper bags, you're set.
That's right. That's right.
Well, that's a really interesting part of season 2. I think that fans really love, and that's probably a storyboard thing. That's really where it's come in, is that Derpy makes cameos in almost all the new episodes. How did that come about, and how much fun is that to do?
Actually, that has more to do with the animation team, because she is a background character, and we don't want to overuse her. It had started out as a mistake, and people latched onto it, and it just became something that was sort of like the Where's Waldo of the show. And it's just fun. I don't know where she's going to be half the time, and if she's even going to be in it. There's episodes where she's not in it at all, and I think that's just fun for fans. Whether or not that continues, again, it's not in my department, so.
So that's not the storyboarders, then that's the animation.
Unless it's specifically called for in the board. Sometimes we have scenes where it just says crowds of ponies, and we just draw, like, we don't have time to go in and make sure that, that's Lyra and that's Octavia, unless they're specifically called for. Every once in a while we can put in, but whether or not that gets translated down the line, we don't really have any control over that. So if the directors want something specific, or the layout artists can put something in because they want to see it, then sometimes that happens.
Well, fantastic.
Actually, that brings up another question. Do you ever make suggestions to the animation team? Like things that you might want to see that you can't maybe, add in the storyboard, but like, it might be neat if you did this or that you did that.
Not so much. We really are careful to, if there's something specific we want, to put it in the board, and then sometimes really cool things happen in the animation process that we're not even anticipating. We're really sort of hands off with the other departments. They do a great job, so there's really no point to go in and start bothering them with our business. And we have enough other things to worry about. Like by the time they're animating that episode, we're already 3 or 4 episodes down the line, and we're just worrying on making sure that episode turns out as well as it can.
And actually, just like your personal experience, was there any particular sequence or any particular episode that you particularly enjoyed storyboarding?
I don't know. Because I was involved with all of them for season 2 in some capacity. There's elements I like things that came out of thumbnail meetings that were really funny to me, like Raven and Jason and I were joking around when we were reviewing stuff for episode 224, the Hurricane Fluttershy, and I think it was me, it might have been all of us, came up with the idea of that muscly pony just going, yeah,
We've seen him here.
Yeah,
had a chance to see
him
him
too. His gray costume. We were just giggling like crazy in the thumbnail meeting. We're like, let's see what happens. So that's something that stands out as something that we put in. Raven did an initial design. Jason tweaked it up and made it even better. It was a total collaborative moment that was just sort of a throwaway joke that became its own thing, and people really loved seeing that guy in that episode. So I don't know, stuff like that's really cool. The things that you put in for yourself to entertain yourself and that end up resonating with other people is rewarding, because you don't really know how that's going to work.
Right. You got to make yourself laugh first.
Absolutely. I mean, our goal is to make the show for the demographic, which is 6 to 9-year-old girls. But the fact that it appeals to people of all ages and all creeds and colors and orientations and all that stuff is rewarding for us. That just means that we're doing something that we feel strongly about, and it's connecting with other people, and that just makes it rewarding. I can't really think of a better word. It gives what we're doing meaning to us anyway.
Well, we of course thank you for that. And I mean, what has your reaction been to the Brony fandom?
It's impressive. I've been admiring the commitment to all this stuff. This is my first convention as a sort of professional in this world, and it's kind of, honestly, it's a bit overwhelming for me. I don't quite know how to take it all in. Ponies is my everyday, so it's kind of like being at a heightened version of work, which is really weird. But at the same time, it's very cool to see all these people here in the spirit of the show sort of coming through, and how they're interacting with each other is fantastic.
And are there any particular interactions you've had with the fans while you've been here at the convention that sort of stick out for you?
It's hard to pick out like any one. Everyone has been so kind and generous and appreciative, and it's like I'm just a regular dude. I don't know why anyone's thinking I'm special, but they're treating us like we're royalty here, and it's really fantastic to know that our hours spent away toiling in this dark room somewhere means something to other people, like I was talking about earlier. And then it's just great to meet people who are fans of the show.
And so that's terrific, and we love seeing your work, and I'm a particular fan of your work from previous shows as well, because you were, and I know I apologize too, because this is a Pony podcast, but I have to abduct it for just a moment to talk about Ed, and Eddie, because a lot of the staff moved from AKA Cartoon to the Studio B, which is now DHX.
Right.
Can you describe the process and transition from Ed's to Pony?
I needed a job. The Eds was done, and I was working on Kid vs. Cat at DHX. That season was winding down, and there was an opportunity to jump on Pony. And like a lot of people who started on the show, we were all like, really? Well, Pony? Because at that time, it hadn't even aired yet. They were still working on the first season. So I said, what the hell? And I went, and it was actually a lot more fun than I had anticipated. But in terms of transitioning, I mean, literally, AKA was 2 blocks away from DHX, so it didn't affect my commute in any way. Yeah, so.
Did you see a lot of the humor? I think that the humor of both shows kind of operates on on a similar level in terms of the visual gags, at least. Maybe that's why so many of the storyboarders are in the same group.
I think that's right. Well, I mean, Wootie, who's one of the directors, and Jason at one point worked at AKA on Ed, Ed and Eddie. Jason less so, but Wootie was there for most of the time I was there as well. And a good chunk of our board team is from there. And I think we all have very similar sensibilities and approaches to how we like to tell a story. And again, the things that Danny instilled in us working at AKA are something that I think has sort of shaped our approach to cartoon making. And we want to make good cartoons at any cost. And I know for me that's something I strive to do all the time. It's just make a cartoon that I would be proud to say I worked on.
It certainly comes across in every single episode that we always see. And so I think that if we'll give you, we need to wrap it up a little bit here, but thank you so much for coming with us.
Thank you for interviewing me. It's fun.
And if we have a chance to talk to the bronies out there, if you have a chance to say anything to them.
Just keep watching the show. You're keeping me employed, and that's a good thing.
And so thank you so much again.
Thank you. Thank you, Jim. Thank you very much.
And so once again, I'm Joe Stevens.
And I'm Techrat.
With the Equestria Inquirer, Everfree Radio, and Everfree Northwest. Thanks for watching.
All right, you know what? This isn't working. You know, Plank.
Plank, enough of your dirty mouth. I
yeah,
think
yeah, that was absolutely
set aside
terrible.
Here. Are
Absolutely
you going to
horrible.
behave yourself? I don't know if he's going to behave himself. Can
He
you make
never
sure
behaves
keeps
himself. He's
keeps in
always just
line?
shooting his mouth off at the most inopportune times.
He needs a spanking. Bad Plank. Bad Plank.
Absolutely.
So-
That's the last time we. That's the last time we get Plank to pinch hit for us. This is never happening again.
Yeah, this-
We're so
not the
sorry
first
about
time we
that.
got Plank spanked,
We're
though.
so sorry about that.
So once again, we are Equestria Inquirer with Joe Stevens.
And Techrat.
With Everfree Radio and Everfree Northwest. And we are here with 2 fantastic guests. Introducing in front of the camera for the first time, Sibsy and Raven.
Hello.
And of course, yes. And go ahead and introduce yourselves. And I guess we'll start with you, Raven, since you're on my right side. And we're going to just switch the microphones around here. Introduce yourselves and what you do on the show.
My name's Raven Mollisey, and I am a storyboard artist on My Little Pony.
Okay. And you are?
I am Sabrina Alberghetti, also known as Sibsy. Most people seem to know me by that more. And I'm also a senior storyboard artist on MLP.
And so that is the visual elements of My Little Pony are often regarded as one of the most important and most well-loved parts of the show. So well, yes, it's very great. That's the good to clap. Clap for yourselves. I think everyone's clapping at home. How does it happen? How do you get from Pinkie Pie sings "Smile, Smile, Smile" to a pony dancing on the screen? How does that translation work?
Well, we read through the script a few times usually, and before, we have a chance to read it. Then we have a handoff meeting where the directors and Jim, our storyboard supervisor, sit with us and we go through the whole thing. Think of, any gags that might come to mind. More will come later as the process.
So do you actually make up added visual gags beyond what's in the script?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Do you have anyone you're particularly proud of?
Twilight popping out of the ball when she's crazy.
Twilight popping out of the ball when she's crazy. I love
Oh,
that.
from Lesson 0.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, girls. yes. Okay.
That's a really fun part to do.
Well, I'm sure Lesson 0 was one of the most well-loved for hilarious gags like that. The Twilight popping out of the bubble one, that was great.
It's
all her.
I can
It was all
make
her?
squealing noise.
Yeah.
Not exclusively. Like Dave, you did a bit at the beginning.
I did the beginning of it, then I had to jump ship to work on a comic project for a while, and then I came
Yeah.
back. So Raven took it over and finished it up pretty awesome.
So what are some of the episodes that you worked on for the show then?
My first one was Dragon Shy, and then I did a whole bunch of Cutie Mark Crusaders in season 1. I did, I can't even remember. The one with the bird, Philomena, I did. We both worked on the disc. You worked on Discord.
Not
no, you
Discord,
didn't.
the wedding
We worked
episode.
on the wedding episode together. I worked on Discord. I did Mare de Well. I did Last Roundup, the infamous Last Roundup.
We don't have to go into detail if you don't want to.
No, I'm
Intentionally
talking about the
infamous.
Austin Chase scene.
Okay, all right.
Everyone seems to forget about. That was a big challenge for me to do because action is not really my forte. So I got Mare de Well and Last Roundup. in
Those
the
are
same
particularly
seasons.
action scenes. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, thanks, guys. You're giving me the stuff I'm not very good at, but I hope I did it good enough.
Well, that's the way you improve your skills, is to try something you...
Oh yeah.
And fail and fail. No,
I think we can
I
all
think
say
you
that was
far
great.
from failed as far as those episodes were concerned.
Yeah, I think Last Roundup is probably my favorite that I've worked on.
And if we can take a break from the reason why we did the plank thing, and this is my particular entrance, and I'm making a horrible fool of myself in front of this entire convention of ponies talking about the wrong show, but a lot of the Studio B DHX Media Group
Yes.
originated from a studio called AKA Cartoon, which made...
Ed, and Eddie.
Okay,
featured
guys, you know
us
what? This is the
episode
point where I
complaint.
leave the interview, and Joe takes over, because...
We'll just continue.
Yeah, I'm going to...
That's my totally
And so if I could just ask... Hey, bye. Okay, no, that's fine. So...
Okay.
I'd love to hear how you started work at AKA and how you went from AKA to Ed and Eddie to DHX and My Little Pony.
How I started at AKA? I was posting fan art online, and then somebody who, Kit from the Ed Zone, saw it, and she's like, oh, they're doing more Ed and Eddie, you should contact them. And she gave me the contact information. I did a test, and it turned out they say to be like
It was
the best
test
test that they
AKA had ever
gotten.
gotten. They're like, why is this girl not working for this
They thought
show
it. They
yet?
thought it was a
She
joke.
does it
They
better
thought
than we do.
somebody. They thought somebody
Yeah.
within the studio had drawn it as a joke.
As a joke.
like to mess
Yeah.
with. So that's how I got my job at AKA. And I started as like a revision artist, which is kind of a nice way to start as a storyboard artist because you get to see a lot, like work with a lot of people's different styles. Like I got to work with Jim, and Scott, and Wootie, of course, and
Jim and Wootie, of course, being director here on
director of my, one of the directors on My Little Pony.
Yeah.
Right.
So got his start at
Most of the Ed's crew is on My Little Pony right now, so that's probably where a lot of those weird visual things come from. They just kind
we're
of
very
translate.
visual people.
completely
Yeah.
different style, though. Completely different.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Ed and Eddie certainly had a harsher slapstick, more like
Yeah.
smacking people around.
It's for little boys, not for little girls.
But then how did you make that transition from the AK? And before I ask that question, I guess Sibsy, how did you get your start?
Well, kind of the same thing. I went to school back in near Toronto, and I just applied for a test, and they thought I was all right enough to do the job, and I worked there for almost 5 years with Raven and met all these wonderful artists that I'm still working with today.
Right.
On all these shows, Kid vs. Cat, My Little Pony, and
Pound Puppies.
Puppies now.
And so you both made the transition from
We both-
AKA.
yeah, when our work was done at AKA, your contract ends, you have to find another job. So we applied to Studio B. At the time, it was Studio B. And we've just kind of gone from show to show since then. We've been pretty lucky.
It's one big swarm. The Ed and
Yes.
Eddie leaves.
Yeah.
All right, we found out Eddie's brother, and they're all happy, and then they move on, and then all of a sudden Equestria has to be saved. Equestria must be saved.
Exactly.
Yes.
You have it right.
I'd love to talk about Ed and Eddie more because I think that people watching would be mad at me. So I need to talk about.
An Ed and Eddie convention.
We
Yeah.
do. We need to make an EdCon. If there are any Ed fans
EdCon,
watching,
yeah.
we'd make an EdCon. We can make a truce between the My Little Pony crew and
how many people
the
would
Ed's
show.
fans and everything. So, when you mentioned that action is particularly challenging.
For me.
Okay.
I'm speaking for myself.
Challenging.
Right.
It's challenging
Everything's
for
a
anybody
challenge,
who does
yeah.
it. And anybody who does it is always like, oh, this isn't good enough. And everybody around them is going, no, shut up. It's amazing.
But it's nice to have the support of all the artists in the studio when you work together, because if you're stuck on something, if you're having trouble, you can say, hey, Jim, can you have a look at this? Or, hey, Raven, can you have a look at this? And you can bounce ideas
Exactly.
back and forth to make the best product you can, because that's ideally what you want to
Well,
do.
the action scenes are always great, and I think that people adore the musical scenes. Would you consider that an action scene, or are those?
No, those
Kind
are
of in a way,
they're-
though,
they're all-
because they're.
God, they're amazing.
And is there a different process or any like additional challenges that you have to face when you're doing a musical number as opposed to just a standard scene in the show?
Oh yeah, God, the song,
Definitely.
whenever you have a song, you just gotta listen to it over and over and over and try and get into the mood of the song, get into the spirit of what the song is saying, and you want to convey that emotion, visually. That's our job. Raven did a phenomenal job on This Day Aria. That was all
Yeah.
her.
That was.
We love that.
Yeah.
That was phenomenal. That was great.
We all watched, when we watched the animatic for that, we were all just like blown away. We were like, this is like Disney movie. This is like so good. And I did Big Brother song there, and I kind of, tried to make it feel sad, and I hope it came through. Cause
It was very, very sad. Yeah, don't
I
worry.
had a sibling go away, so I had to try and dig deep and find something in me, emotionally to help make that scene work.
Well, there were a lot of songs in that, and there were a lot of interesting things. But there was one thing of interest in that episode, that you were in that episode.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
You happen to have an OC, as a matter of fact, for the fans who are not aware.
Whoop, there she is. Yeah.
There's Sibsy. There's
There's
Sibsy
a-
right
His
there.
character.
Yeah, she's in there. That was pretty cool. It's probably a one-time shot, but hey, I'm not complaining.
That's
Now,
still
what I've always
awesome.
wanted to know, is where did the cutie mark for your OC come from? Can your
Burning
character
tire.
actually set tires on fire?
Burning tire? Well, it kind of represents my own personal dealings with road rage.
I've heard stories about this. I don't know if you want to elaborate or
A lot
not.
of people have heard stories about it. We'll just leave it at that. I just figured, what else could I do, really? That seemed appropriate to me to make for my...
I've just heard you're a lot of fun to drive with.
I get a lot of slack for it. They're like, I thought there's no tires in Equestria. And I'm like, well, Scootaloo's...
There was one.
Scootaloo's got a scooter, and
There you go.
And I think originally one of the roller derby, it's kind of based off one of the roller derby ponies' cutie marks. So I figured it's canon, it's fine.
And so how did it come to where, did you just kind of like, I'm just going to draw my OC in here and I'll hope no one notices?
No, you can't do
Not
that
at
at
all.
all. Because every character has to be built in Flash, which means every character has to be approved. So at the time, when I was looking at whoever storyboarded that sequence, I think it was Marshall that had done it.
Marshall, yeah.
The character looked already like my OC. So I went to Rid, the lead character designer, and I just asked him, hey, can we try and get Wildfire in there? And it got through, and that was it. But yeah, usually, a lot of people ask, can you sneak? You can't sneak anything in. You can't get anything past
many
anybody.
hands.
And I'm just curious, did you at least, once you had crossed that line and made it your OC in the show, did you at least ask if you could provide the voice for it?
No, that I don't think we can do that. And the thing is, everything's recorded way before we storyboard anyway, so the dialogue's already there to go
So
from.
that's interesting. So when you get the piece, when you get a script,
Yep.
and you get the vocals,
The voice track,
do you get the
yep.
music, the voices. And so you had to
Yep.
take all these pieces, and the final piece, which is kind of the most integral piece, is what's it going to look
What's
like?
it gonna look like?
And so I guess walk us through the music and the script and all that. Is it what do you lean on more heavily? I mean, what or is it kind of all together at once? The music.
You kind
the
of
script,
have to see the show as a whole, right, from beginning to end, and see the big picture. Like you can't get caught in one little scene or one little section. I don't know. You might be different than me.
Oh, like seeing it as a whole, you mean? Like,
Well, yeah, just
You got, for instance, the smile song. I think I always come back to that because, in my opinion, that's the best part of season 2. I think that was just phenomenally good. Did you do that one?
no.
no, that was
Tom-
Tom Sales.
Tom did that.
Well, I would
The
have.
infamous Tom.
He
The
also
infamous
did
Tom
the teaser, the Comic-Con, the first song that was shown
The
Yes,
dragon
he did.
song.
With Spike.
with Spike singing and dancing
Yes.
beautifully.
Yes.
The one thing we can talk about for season 3 that's already been released.
Because it's already out
It's
there.
already out there, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. So I just thought I'd mention, given
Yeah.
it. give Tom some more credit.
And actually, we've been hearing a lot from a lot of the other people involved in the show. Like we talked to Kathy Wislick yesterday about it, and how that she didn't see the final product until they showed it at Comic-Con. Is that the way it happens with you guys as well? Like once you storyboard something, and once it moves on
you guys
to
get to see it early.
layout,
And a
at what
different
point in the
process.
process do you get to see the finished product?
Oh, we see it every step of the way. Like I'm always checking to see when the animatic is up, when every step, the design, everything. I'm just always, because you want to see how it's turning out. And part of me doesn't want to see it because when things are in animatic form, they're not final, they're not perfect. The timing is off, and you kind of get pissed off. You're like, that's not what I wanted, or that's not the timing I wanted on that gag. But it always gets ironed out by the end. But I know we've talked about it. We just can't resist watching the animatics.
Yeah,
as soon
it's
as they come
exciting
back.
to see like when you come up with something, like you have like your little scenelet or whatever that you've done, and to see it be carried from animatic to where it's timed with the voices to where it has the animation, even if it's a rough cut, and then finally music and sound. Like
The music and the sound effects just
tie
they
it all
pull
together.
it together. Yeah.
Well, after seeing all this work coming, all these great, what has your reaction been to the following? Obviously, you were there from the beginning of the show. So, what is your reaction? You've been able to see it go from a show that you put your heart into, and then all of a sudden, it's enormous. What's your reaction been to the Brony community?
I think it's fantastic. As a fan coming into the industry myself, like I just see potential in so many people. So much talent, like just dripping.
The
from
artists down in this convention are just blowing my mind. I just want to buy everything.
Yeah.
You're gonna go back down to the dealer's room after
Oh,
this
yeah.
and just gorge on swag.
I am.
So is there anything you want to say to? Obviously, now you guys have fans too. People love you guys. Don't
That's
look at me like that.
insane.
You have fans. People, even Plank is your fan. He told me.
Thank you, Plank. I love you too.
Aww.
Touching moment with Plank.
Literally touching.
been a
I'm
long
having a touching
time.
moment too. But
He
we
doesn't
do
say
that
much, but he's affectionate.
Look at that smile.
So, is there anything you'd like to say to your fans, to the community watching?
Thank you. Thanks for like reaching out to us when you do, and like don't be afraid to ask us questions or approach us, because we're just other artists, and right off the bat we have something big in common.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I like to say thanks also, and I do my best to reach out to everybody. I get everyone's messages. I read everyone's tweets. I can't get back to everyone, but I do read them all. I just want people to know that I really, really appreciate all the support from fellow artists and fellow fans, because it keeps us going when we're in the dredges going, oh God, I don't want to do this today,
Yeah,
and
we
just think
do
of how many
about
people
that.
love what we're doing. So we really appreciate it, and it's so nice to have those kind words coming in like every hour, it seems, and it keeps our spirits high. So yes, thank you.
And so, where can the fans see you on Twitter?
I'm at Ravenissimo, and it's RAVENEESIMO.
And?
And I am at The Real Sibsy, because Sibsy was already taken by somebody else.
Weird.
I know, right? God. 8 million Twitter people. So yeah, at The Real Sibsy, but I think most of you know that
Well, we'd
already.
love to keep this conversation going, but unfortunately, actually getting a charity auction. As you know, Bronies are all
Some
overly
fancy
charitable.
stuff on that table over
That's
there.
You're eyeing some of
quite
that up right
amazing
now,
to me,
aren't
too.
you?
That vinyl
I've heard
scratch
some cool
over there.
stories.
The charity is just a great part of this community, so we want to make sure that they have plenty of opportunity to get that done.
Yeah.
So we'll be coming back to the charity auction here in a second. So once again, thank you so much. This is fantastic.
This has been wonderful. Thank you.
Oh, yes.
Can I get a hug too? Just because.
We'll get a big group. How about we big?
Yeah.
We all need that.
Everybody together. Come on.
All right. Okay.
Oh my God, I'm going to fall over.
And Plank.
Too. Okay.
Plank
All right.
is
For
loving
Everfree
this.
Northwest, the Equestria Inquirer, and Everfree Radio, I am Tech Rat,
And
along
I'm
with
Joe Stevens.
All right, and we'll be talking to you soon, guys.
Stay tuned.
Thank you so much.
Hey everyone, this is Ed, and Ed. Go ahead, say something. Hi.
Guys, like, seriously, we should get back to work,
Oh yeah, right. But first we gotta introduce Plank. It's Plank. It's so awesome.
Why'd you take him, Eddie? Why'd you take him? I already found you freaking out right now.
I can't keep doing it.
Hey, you guys! How can you do this to Plank? Plank, you okay, buddy? Plank says you guys are the worst ever!
Oh man, that's just not right. Guys.
It in, it's going to turn out really good. So, getting back on track. Once I saw the script come in, it was like, whoa.
And that first script for the pilot, right?
Yes, it was the two-parter. And I saw, whoa, this is a huge, epic, universe filled with like mythology and richness of character and of location. Everything was just gelling. It was like this amazing big thing, and I was, at that point, yes, I'm really gonna sink my teeth into this. I'm gonna go full-heartedly into this, and pour everything I have. So it was like at that point, midnight oil was burning. I put in, I managed to twist my company to put in more effort in the front end of the production, which is like the build department, which is what I go nuts for in a weird way. I really can forecast how a character can be used to efficiently to not hang up the animator and get them not thinking about, oh, this part is not moving very well, and it encourages them to make it cartoony, like get into this kind of 3D look, not be limited by like a sticker head or that kind of thing. So we got a lot of good pre-production happening, which makes the rest of the cartoon smooth sailing, to a degree.
Well, it certainly paid off. I mean, from the very beginning, I think that a lot of people just the reason that people get hooked on the show is not so much they hear about it and they think, oh, I'm going to like that show. It's they watch it. They watch the show and you can't resist it. I mean, it certainly pays off. So when working through the show, has there been an evolution of when you get more comfortable in the characters? Have you been able to explore more and work with it? How has the show evolved just from a production standpoint?
Well, what can I say about that?
Well, I guess let me be a little more specific. You mentioned that when the fans really embraced Derpy, you threw her into the season 1, so very quickly, I think. How has the Brony reaction to the show affected the way that the production crew looks at the show, or has it really? I think that a lot of people say, yeah. So go ahead.
It's basically like a fueling. It's like we pick up on like, wow, it's first off, there's people watching the show, like it's successful, and that alone is like fueling. And then when we actually hear from them and we see, the internet hasn't been around too long, so a lot of like cartoon makers haven't, had the feedback directly from the audience, which I think is a really important thing for an artist because it fuels the batteries. It makes you want to pay more attention to those little scenes you're working on because you know someone's going to be paying attention.
Right, because they're paying attention. When Derpy Hooves was present in that moving scene, people really paid attention. They really cared about that.
It's inspiring. It makes me want to make a better cartoon.
And so now that you're here, this is your first convention, right?
Yes, it is.
And what has your reaction been to seeing all the bronies who absolutely love your work?
Really cool, man. Really cool. It's, like I said, it's inspiring, and just to see the passion that we're putting in on the front end is also being received with an equal amount of passion. And I think that's a really cool exchange. And what's interesting is that I actually have some fans who are fans of the show. Like I'm sorry, did I say that right? No, I am fans of fans. Right. They produce these videos and things that we see all the time, and that kind of thing is charging our batteries too. It's really cool to see these people and meet them firsthand.
So you actually the people on the show go to Equestria Daily or go to the Everfree Radio and see the fan submissions, and you actually are seeing that. What is your reaction when you see some of these animations are really, really good? And
talented guys. It started out as seeing just like talented editors, pulling off these trailers and things, picking the highlights basically. That's something that we aren't very familiar with we didn't get the privilege of having on previous cartoons we've worked on. A lot of times an editor will have to be paid to sit down and like go through a stack of footage and like pick it out, but when the fans are doing it for us, it's an extra treat to see it come back to us so quickly. And it's like, wow, it reminds us of, holy crap, we are working on a rad cartoon. Sometimes we get blinders in production and we're just kind of dealing with the one thing we're dealing with, and we don't get a chance to back out and see the impact that's happening, and just to see our show in a bigger light. It's really refreshing to have that mirror,
Well, we're so grateful for all the hard work you put in on it, and I think that one of the things we're interested in is the actual production process and seeing how this is all made. Has there been any particular challenges in making a show? Because you could think that it would be a show that initially everyone writes it off. Oh, it's just a show for girls. But what is the challenge that you've faced making it a really, really good show? What is the biggest hurdle you've had to overcome for that?
Well, we kind of reorganized how we approach the workflow. Me and Jason, it was like 3 cartoon peas in a pod. We all had that exact same cartoon vision. It was dead easy to work on. We all shared that same vision. We know exactly what a cartoon should be and what characters should be, and strong archetypes, always remaining true and genuine to themselves. And then at that point, we were working on the Flash test to make sure that it could be done in Flash, and we wanted to see the range of things that could happen. So we did a Flash test and figured out how to wrangle that hair. There's a lot of tails. And
what was the first Flash test you did? What scene was it?
Oh, well, let's see. It didn't really apply to a specific episode. It was just like a simple little situation. We thought the show would be a lot more limited than how it turned out, really. At that point, we hadn't seen any scripts. We had only seen the Bible, which was so inspiring, right? Once we saw the Bible, I was like, yes, I want to work on that show.
Now, the Bible being the big book of all the character designs, the description of the characters and who they are. Right. Could you tell from even something the Bible, could you tell it was going to be something special?
Yeah, I'll take a couple steps back. When I was offered the director role, I was really excited. And my producer says to me, oh, and by the way, it's My Little Pony. So instantly I get these 2 little me's pop up on my shoulder. I've got the artist me and then like the big, burly heavy metal lumberjack me with a hairy chest. He said, My Little Pony? Oh, man. And then this other me was like, wait a minute. This is a cartoon that, people have heard of. This could go places. This could be a chance to put my best foot forward, And
you can still be the cool guy to have the curly Q mustache working on My Little Pony. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. That is a fantastic mustache, sir.
Oh, thank you. A lot of wax, boys. Need a lot of wax.
And so you were given this Bible, you were given this encouragement. So you looked at it, you said, this is something that people know, that people recognize. And yes. you could take it to something special.
Right. Well, it wasn't at that point. It was that point when I saw the designs, when I said, yes, give me that show. I would love to do it. 'Cause it's so fit for Flash, technically speaking, and it's just so damn appealing looking, and graphic and simple and strong. And then I read the Bible and was still even more stoked. And at that point, we did the test. So once we pulled that off, and it was, fairly simple animation, but we got some good fluid cartoony stuff, because it's never about, Flash is just a tool, and it's not about the tool, it's about how you use it. So if someone has a really strong vision on how to make a strong cartoon, then it doesn't matter what format they're doing.
Once again, I'm Joe Stevens of the Equestria Inquirer here on Everfree Radio on Everfree Northwest, and I am here with a very, very special guest, a wonderful guest, Mr. James Wootten. Thank you so much for being here.
It's a pleasure. Nice to be here. What up, bronies?
What up, bronies? Now, I believe... And all fans, Pegasusers, bronies. I think we all go by bronies now, but whatever moniker you prefer to go for, I think is acceptable. But James or Wootie, can we call you Wootie?
Oh, please do.
Yes, Wootie works on the show, is the director of the show. So just go on to, what is it you do on the show?
What don't I do? No, basically, I'm just kind of that central hub of, managing creativity, making sure everyone's focused on doing the same, same vision, same show. Everyone's contributing, and everyone's, it's clicking together well and coming out perfect in the end.
Now, I guess that's a fancy way of saying you're the director, I guess.
Sure.
So you organize all the different aspects of the show. Do you ever get to put your own personal touch on anything? Is there anything that was Wootie's idea? That was what Wootie did.
Oh, sure. Yeah, there was, it's hard to come up with the detailed specific moments, but one thing I take pride in is reaching out to the fans, after the derpy phenomena happened, kind of accidentally in a really interesting way. I had to make sure that we were, pleasing the fans, so I dropped in that little derpy clip in Feeling Pinky Keen, when all the items were dropping on Twilight.
Right, Derpy the delivery, the derping derp of delivery.
Exactly, yeah, it was the big old derp.
So do we have you to thank for Derpy being such a present part, at least in the background of season 2?
Well, at that point, everyone was getting in on it. Once they saw that it was okay, even the directors dropping in things for the fans.
So Wootie said that all clear. You can throw derpy jokes in there.
Exactly. Keep it subtle. It's always, we don't want to go overboard with it and not too much fan service.
Right, and so you were there from, I guess, with the beginning of the beginning of the show and everything, and so it seems like the show was really kind of, I guess, handed off to you from once it got established, once Lauren worked in there and got everything set up. So describe that process of you taking command of the show and making it such a wonderful thing that it is.
Sure, yeah. When Lauren came up and met with Mo, we had a pipeline of where we put our strengths in our artists along the way. We were saving a lot of, at first we were saving a lot of our more talented guys in the animation department. And then we realized that, wait a minute, if we put those talented guys a little bit earlier on in the production, and we created this, we kind of redefined a department called layout, where it's basically like a comic book, where we make the storyboard sing. We make it all pretty and nicely composed, and all the acting's there. It's like key animation, basically. So we basically do all the keys really strong and really appealingly. And Jason and we get in there and approve every scene and every bit of acting before it goes to animation. And at that point, it's guaranteed to be really appealing and strong.
So that makes the production and everything a lot easier when you're doing all that sort of thing.
That's right. And, we found with previous shows we were working on that we were having to get a lot more revisionists. After the animation is complete, the directors will go over it and get more, do their fixes. But we realized that most of our calls were like layout calls rather than animation calls. So it seemed to just be a lot more logical to put more strength in the earlier stages.
One of the things about the show that I think a lot of the fans love, and we were just had the opportunity to see you with Mike the Mic, or with Acoustic Brony and Manda Pony and everything, is the music, the inspirational music, Danny Ingram and all those things. Is that a challenge? Is it fun? Because in your past work, you hadn't done musical elements. What's it like animating a very musical-oriented episode versus a very not musical-oriented episode?
That poses some challenges in storyboard. You're going to be more careful with your timing, with posing and staging, and just fitting things to a song was cool. We basically, for our storyboards, we made an animatic, like the storyboard artist would make an animatic work with the song. And we could just play that back and give instant feedback to these just rough drawings to the song. Normally, the storyboard artist will, when there's no song, will just go straight ahead and not do an animatic. So, and it's been really inspiring. Like, the songs are actually good, Like, a lot of times in the old cartoons we work on, it's just kind of like, okay, yeah, there's a cute little song here, let's throw that in there, and it works. It's functioning, but